Howdy, interwebs. Okay, so this is an idea. This is an amalgamation of ideas. This is a bunch of things you should probably be aware of that a lot of people are not aware of. This exists in a lot of other drills already, so there's nothing revolutionary here. But I see a lot of folks struggling with a swoop or complaining that they can't get nose angle right. And I think there's just a very simple conceptual thing that's messing up a lot of people's swing planes. And it comes from the mental model of I am going to have the disc go in a straight line away from the target and then pull the disc in a straight line towards the target and have it go towards the target. That works very well to a point. That is what a lot of top players are thinking. That is a very reliable way to make this little piece of plastic go the way you want to, is if you only accelerate it in a line towards the direction you want it going, yeah, it's going to work. But it's not actually what happens at a physics level. You know, the disc is going to hopefully come from out, maybe not, but it's going to come in, it's going to wobble at least a disc width doing this and going from out to in to out. So there are a lot of folks' ideas about this, like people say out and out, and then people get too stuck on that and they're like, okay, out, in, out, and it like there's just all sorts of nonsense happens because we think we know what we're supposed to do and we try to do it. So take your mental model with a grain of salt is the first piece of advice. The second one is this straight line thing is not the only way to throw. It works very well for very athletic folks. I am not the most athletic folk, and it doesn't work well for me. A straight line pull does work for me. Wide rail does not work well for me. There's not enough time for me there to get enough impulse in my muscles to have the disc move forward well. So what actually works for me the best is the opposite of a wide rail. So I don't want to reach back here. I actually want to reach back here. And this is the thing that I see folks get wrong a lot. So if you're on a hyzer plane, if the circle that your shoulders are going to spin on is tilted thusly, so this is where my reach back should go. I don't want to go here because that's violating my swing plane. Don't violate your swing plane. If I'm on a hyzer tilt, which you should be 90% of the time, your reach back shouldn't be here. It should be here. So one, keep the disc on plane like this. So if I'm throwing this angle of hyzer, I'm going to keep the disc there as I get to my reach back, and my reach back is going to be here. So this is like classically it's in no territory because my target, the camera, can't see the disc anymore. Oh no, I'm rounding. Like, yeah, maybe, but no. Rounding is this. So as long as you don't get here, that's fine. So you can reach back here as long as you're supporting your elbow enough that it doesn't fall behind your hip and shoulder rotation, then you're not rounding. So this is the way that I throw currently, and it works the best for me. When 400 feet on demand without warming up comes from this method for me. I can't get there any other way. Deep pocket doesn't work for me yet. I'm still working on it. But this does. So it's a shallow pocket style where I'm starting from here, and that helps me get my swing aligned with good timing to a hit point, which is not there but here, which is way earlier than it usually happens if you haven't intentionally strived to get your hit point dialed. But it's the opposite of straight line, deep pocket, have it crack there. I'm starting here and getting the crack there. So it's focusing on your crack, your hit point, not depth of pocket. And there's still a lot more force there in that hit point with that style of generating power into the hit point. It probably doesn't work as well as a deep pocket, but for casual players, I feel like it's a much more accessible way to get your timing working. So that's the idea. You want to be aware of your swing plane and aware of your hyzer tilt. So if I'm throwing pretty flat, I can reach back pretty flat. But if I'm throwing on a hyzer, I don't want to reach back flat. Because if I reach back flat, I'm actually reaching lower than my plane, which you do want to do a little bit to get a positive launch angle, but that's where it gets confusing. So if I'm on a, spiky hyzer that's like 30, 40 degrees, I don't want to reach back here because that's too low. And then I'd rather reach back here and let the swing come down almost like a girthy style thing, and then have my hit be there. So if I reach here, it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to tend to orient my elbow this way so that when I start bending my elbow collapses too close to my rib cage and my disc flares up, and then all of a sudden, crap, I'm swooping. So if you get here, it's easier to keep the disc on plane and have it crack out there. So one other thing with this, previously in my coaching, I had advised people to not pendulum swing into their reach back because I was concerned that putting momentum on the disc this way is going to tend to get you here, which we don't want to be there. But I think they're like this awareness of like, okay, my swing plane's here, I'm going to put the disc here, instead of, okay, my swing plane's here, I don't care about my swing plane, this is where my reach back goes because that's what Dave Wiggins does, so I'm going to do that. That creates a lot of problems. Just be aware of this plane and keep the disc on the plane the whole time. That is easier to do if you're graphing your plane in space like this. And then you say, okay, there's my reach back, drive the elbow forward, boom, throw happens. I think there's actually a lot to that. I think that's a really good drill. First time I was exposed to that is when Josh did it, I think in his hula drill, I believe. I think that's a great progression. So cross-reference this idea, this pendulum swing, and then also Yanni's cooked the spaghetti drill, right? If you're here and you're trying to keep your arm straight, but you can't and it bends a little bit and pops out, that's a perfect analogy for loading your elbow well and keeping your elbow on plane. So you can cross-reference spaghetti with hula drill, and that makes a lot of sense because you're not going to go like this because then your spaghetti is too limp. So you got to keep your spaghetti firm enough, cross-reference it with a trebuchet drilled shoe, so you're thinking about actively driving that elbow forward, supporting it at first and then actively driving it forward at the end. With all those combined, you can fight rounding, fight elbow orientation issues because you're not reaching back too low and setting your elbow up here. So I think with all those tools combined, a lot more folks could fix their swoop issues on their own. Yeah, so try it out. Be aware of your hyzer tilt. Be aware of your plane matching that hyzer tilt. And be aware that your reach back needs to exist on that plane. Or if you're worried about launch angle and nose angle, slightly below that plane, pulling to slightly above that plane. Maybe I'll do another video on that with tech test stuff. But that's my advice for swoop and nose issues currently. Just get the disc on the plane. Yeah. Good luck, internet.